Module 3. Today we're going to look at creating an architectural drawing as shown in our AutoCAD website for Module 3. So we're going to draw this simple house elevation. To get a look at it, you can click on this link and then it'll open up in a PDF. And there's a couple other links that I put into this drawing. I thought it might be fun to add some uh, landscaping blocks to it. And so I'm going to save this. To my desktop. And then we're going to get started. So here we are back at our AutoCAD website. We need a B-size title block. So I'm going to right click on this, save target as, and I'm going to put it on my desktop. And then I'm going to open it. I'm going to open it from AutoCAD because I'm a little worried it might launch a separate instance. So I'm going to say File, Open, and I'll go to my desktop. There we go. And so here is my B-size architectural title block. We start off in paper space, which is what this icon represents. And what this is it's an 11-inch high by 17-inch wide piece of paper. And what we do is we put the paper annotations on a drawing sheet with a viewport. And this viewport links to model space, which allows us to draw the elevation at full scale. So let's get started. We're going to click on the Model tab. And now we're in model space. You'll notice that the icon has changed to an XY. We'll turn on our snap and we'll turn on our grid. And we will take a look at how we can set our snap by going to Tools, Drafting Settings, and we'll set our snap for 6 inches and our grid for 12 inches or 1 foot. And we'll okay that. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to increase the limits of the drawing by saying Format Drawing Limits. We'll leave the lower left hand corner at 0, 0, and the upper right hand corner we've got 20 feet by 18, so this is 2018. X is 20, so it's 20 feet wide by 18 feet. And if we look at our drawing, what we'll notice is that the house is a good 21 feet plus another 6. So just to be on the safe side, we're going to set up our limits to be 20 feet in X and 30 feet in Y. And that'll extend that up so that the elevation plan fits on it. And we'll start by drawing a line, ensuring our snap and our grid are on. We'll draw that 16 feet 6 inches. 16 feet 6 inches. We'll track up and we'll go 21 feet 5 inches. Whoops. U for undo, and we'll get that so it tracks 21 feet 5. And seems I have done it again. So we'll draw this vertical line 21 feet 5 inches. And we're going to just make this a square to start off with, and then we'll edit it 16 feet 6 inches. Turn on our line weights. And what we're going to do is to draw the rise over run to calculate out our roof slope. And what we'll do is we'll select line. We'll draw a line 9 inches by 12. And that'll represent the slope of our roof. And what we'll do is we'll put a copy of it on the corner, and then we'll mirror that. I'm going to mirror it with a blue window so I only get that geometry from the midpoint. Shift right mouse click, erase source no. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to extend those two lines. And so I'll extend this one and this one to each other. That didn't quite work for me. So what we'll do is we'll just create a line from the midpoint for them to extend to. And then we'll say extend, boundary, enter, line to extend, and line to extend. I'm going to just draw a line where I'll figure my easement will be, and I'll extend those boundaries. Then I'll erase it. We don't need these corners anymore. Notice I'm using a blue window, which only selects what's entirely within it. And I think what we'll do is we'll make the roof thickness, let's try 8 first. So we'll say offset this line 8. Let's get rid of the snap. So 8 doesn't look too bad. And here's a nice trick. If we use fillet with a radius of 0, we can corner that, and then we can get rid of our construction line. And then we'll draw the endpoints. So that kind of roughs out the basic exterior of the house. And the next thing that we want to do is to create the window geometry. And so we've got a couple of windows here that we want to look at. Um, we'll start with the lower window. And that window is 8 feet 4 inches by 5 feet 6. And so what we want to do is we can create the window. We don't necessarily have to lay it out perfectly in the center. We can lay out the window design and then move it to the center. You'll notice they didn't give us any height requirements of where the bottom of the window is, so we can kind of make that up ourselves. And so let's switch back to our CAD system here. And what we're going to do is we're going to come over to the layer manager, and I'm going to just put it on this blue furniture layer for right now. We can always rename that layer, but I want it to be a different color. And we'll draw a line 8 feet 4 inches by 5 feet 6. And then we'll zoom in on that. Now what we want to do is we want to create 4 panes of glass across the top and 4 panes of glass across the bottom. we'll start off by drawing a line from the midpoint. Now I'm not getting a midpoint O snap, and so I can just right click on my O snaps and enable midpoint. And so now when I draw a line, I should get a little diamond, and I can do that. Now to break this into 4 pieces, what I like to do is use a divide command. And to use that, what we want to do is we want to set up our point style, and we'll set up a point style. I like to use this one right here, and we'll set the absolute units to be, we'll say 1, and we'll see how that looks. And what we'll do is we'll go to the point command, and we will go and say divide, and we'll divide this into 1, 2, 3, 4 units. I'm not sure if it took. So we'll say 4, enter, and we'll select this line. It did. Okay, and so we see those 4, and so we'll have 1, 2, that's going to work just fine. Now I could have let's do that again, and so we'll say divide, we'll say this object, and we'll say 4, and we'll do the same on the bottom. Divide 4. And then what we can do is we can set our O snap to node, and when we draw our lines, when we get near one of those points, it will capture it. What I'm doing is right mouse clicking. Okay, and that's our window, and we'll see if we can dress it up in the second part of the video. And what we want to do here is to be able to take 16 feet 6 inches from, or 8 feet 4 inches from 16 feet 6 inches to find out how much is left on the end. But there's an easier way to do that, and what we can do is we can just create a construction line nearest, and we'll say from here, let's use a snap. Oh, we won't use a snap, but we'll just bring that over. And what we can do is we can say move this object from the midpoint. We could say node, but we'll say midpoint to the shift right mouse click midpoint. And then we don't necessarily have to do the calculation. We can always verify it, but that's the beauty of these CAD systems, is that they'll do the math for you, and you can concentrate on your design components. And so that's one of our windows, and we'll do the same thing for the other window. The other window is 10 feet 2 by 5 feet 6, and I'm not sure why there's this little gap here and this gap here. We'll just draw them together. We can always dress this up after we get the part roughed in. And so again, we'll go over here to the side, and we'll draw a line. 10 feet 2 by 5 feet 6. 10 feet 2. And we'll close that. And again, it's divided into 4 pieces. And I guess what it is that 2 of the windows on the side are a little smaller than the other 4 in the middle. But as we look at this exercise, I think we're just going to divide it into 4 like we did the last one. So we'll say divide this line 4 segments. And before I divide it, I'm going to change the color so we can see that a little better. I'll say red, and let's make these points a little bigger. So let's say 3. You'll notice the points are still there. We can turn those off after we've drawn it. And so when I go and I put the points on, select the line, number of points 4, repeat, select the line, number of points 4, and then I'm going to go back to my by layer so that my lines are blue. From the midpoint. And then again, we're going to create a construction line using a nearest snap. Just bring it across here. And then we're going to move our new window from the midpoint to the midpoint. Try that again. Move, select our object, hit enter from our midpoint to our midpoint. Get rid of our construction line, and then we'll put our rounded window, which is a radius of 3 feet 2 inches, and let's just draw it. So we'll go circle, center radius, we'll choose some spot, and we'll say 3 feet 2, and then we'll draw a line from what we want is the quadrants. From the quadrant, that was shift right mouse click, and I really like using the pop-up O snaps. And then we'll divide that or trim it. Trim, select our cutting line, hit enter, and then the part 2, remove. And this window has one line from the midpoint to this node, and then it has another line at 45 degrees. And so if we right click on our polar and we enable 45, we can then draw a line, and when we get a tracking point, we can then track that out. Now it doesn't matter if I overshoot it a little bit because I'm going to trim it back. Trim, enter, and I'll pull that back. And then I'll locate this on the center, and it looks like the center of the house is slightly off the snap on the grid because we've got a 6 feet 6. I'm not sure exactly where that came in. It looks to me like everything should be over a little bit rather than at that point. And so what I'm going to do is just going to draw a line up from this node, and then I'm going to move it. And I'm not super particular as far as that part, as long as it looks right, as long as it looks centered. Try that again. U for undo. Let's try moving it. There we go. Alright, and then we'll get rid of the points by going to Utilities, Point Style, and we'll say use this one for none. And we won't be seeing that. And then what we'll do is we'll add some of our dimensions to this, and we'll finish this drawing up. So we'll go to the dimension layer, and then on the annotate, we'll select dimension, and we'll dimension from this point to this point, and we'll put our dimension down here, 6 feet 6. And the way it works with the dimensions is you want to get the endpoints of the objects because there's going to be a little gap between the object line and the extension for the dimension. I'm slightly off with the roof dimensions. We'll see if we can correct that in our next video. This completes part 1 of the architectural exercise.